This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. My guest today is Gaurav Dubey. Gaurav is the CEO of TDeFi, which is a crypto incubator and advisor for blockchain startups, currently incubating and advising DeFi, NFT, EdTech, gaming, and crypto projects. Welcome to the show, Gaurav.
Well, thank you, Andy. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Pleasure to have you here. We'll do what we do at the beginning of the show. Could you please introduce yourself? Let's just hear a little bit about your personal story, your professional story, what you've been doing in the lead up to TDeFi.
How much time do I have? Because it's a long story.
Highlights, please.
I'd use 2 minutes then, or 5?
Yeah, two to 5 is good.
2 is fine. Fantastic. I started as a hardware and electronics engineer. Later on, did some professional courses and started my telecom companies. While doing that, I also set up a tech incubator in India. And it's been 15 years since the operations have been live amongst all of that. I sold the telecom companies, one in India, another one in UK, and digital advertising companies in the last 15 years. And then, jumped into crypto while solving payments for this digital advertising company in 2015. I have been mining, setting up colos, setting up data centers, and OTCs around the world since 2015 onwards. And, I sold my first crypto company, which was a colo in 2016. Closed my OTCs and came full-time to investing, which we were already doing in the Indian incubator and capital, and the holding company family office. So I've been investing, accumulating Ethereum Ripple since the same time. And, later on started investing since the first ever ICO, which was the DAO on Ethereum. And I've never looked back. Augur, Golem, Gnosis, you name a project of 16, 17, 18, and we were there. Wave, Neo, the list is endless. I'm sure you're aware of most of the names. Polygon, Koti, obviously are the highlights of the portfolio where we were one of the largest either secondary buyer or the first investors in respective cases. And TDeFi came out as a product of the experience in crypto precisely, as well as the incubator operation experience of the last 15 years. In 2019, 2020, when I saw the failures of a bit of my portfolio, I was fortunate to have more than 20% of my projects living through the bear run of 19. But for the rest 80, I saw the reasons were pretty stupid for most of them. And they were like pretty much the same cases as we observed in the tech world, in the usual business world. They didn't know the basis of business. Most of the founders were tech in blockchain, and hence they were failing out on the very business logics. A lot of them were jumping into decentralized economies, only attracted by the capital it had to offer, but no idea of the true decentralization. And then the biggest problem was none of them, mostly, I would say like a fraction of them, only knew about this instrument, this publicly traded instrument called tokens, which was almost an IPO experience. But how many founders, how many advisors altogether in crypto have an experience of IPO running publicly traded markets for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? That was the foundation of TDeFi. And since then, we have been, incubating projects.
Fascinating, Gaurav. And, you talked about how you were surprised at the number of companies that did or didn't make it out of that 2018, 2019 bear cycle. And of course, now we find ourselves in another reasonably intense crypto bear market. Do you see some similarities? Is the same thing beginning to play out again?
Aren't we all seeing the same? Like it's all the way the same thing. It happened to, let's say, layer ones, infrastructures, and some initial ideas of dApps at that time. Now it's happening with metaverse, GameFi. The kind of projects we are looking at failing, the titans that are failing, like Axie and others, are now blamed to bad tokenomics, which is again, like I would say, misunderstanding of decentralization and inexperience with economy, creating circular economies that would lead to a zero sum. What's happening now is, I mean, what has happened in the last 1 year of the metaverse GameFi hype is that we have come up with play to earn, play to this, play. I mean, this to earn, that to earn, and eventually all of that has. So yeah, I'm saying it's all over the same scenario, and I would conclude this with a statement from Peter Schiff. He says, "You're wrong the moment you say it's different this time." He's talking about the markets, obviously, and I
Yeah.
believe in the statement so much, and that's the foundation of our advisory.
Yeah, nice. And what's funny that you should choose a quote from Peter Schiff, who, of course, is famously, well, he's you never know how serious he's being, but he loves to poke fun at Bitcoin and
Absolutely.
and the crypto space, doesn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah. But that does not decredits or uncredits him of his achievements in the traditional world.
That's right.
So I'm only quoting him for his accomplishments.
All right. Well, tell us a bit more about TDeFi then. So what is the actual? You're like a kind of incubator, a Web3 incubator, right?
Yeah, we start as a Web3 incubator, but then without any extra compensation or change of terms, we continue as a lifetime advisor. So we have, project managers, single point of contacts, and then a whole infrastructure behind this advisory provision on each project. So like every product has a SPOC, every project has a project manager, and then there's a whole infrastructure of people, researchers, advisors to support every single project, and then help them mingle to the Web2 as well as the enterprise world and Web3 ecosystems. That's what we do.
Yeah. And looking through the projects on your website, I can see there's a big list of different projects there. Do you want to pick out a couple that you think have big potential? Who are you most excited by at the moment, Gaurav?
The feather on the hat, like we often mention, is Vulcan Forge. Vulcan Forge is a metaverse GameFi, or at least it started as a as a metaverse and GameFi project. They have 8 working games. They have a fully functional and sold out metaverse since the last 1.5 years or so. And at the same time, now they have launched their own metaverse centric or enabling substrate based infrastructure, L1. And the beauty of all of this is that all of this uses a single token called PYR. Recently, Anthony Scaramucci led Skybridge Capital made a big investment last month or so, like 2 months ago. And so, yeah, that's the one we're most excited about. And its growth has been unprecedented. It's a $1.4 billion at its peak market cap. The second one is more institutional and my favorite, not because of anything else, but because of the product and the commitment of the team. It's called Bridge Network. And it's a bridging protocol, and is also has a DeFi angle to it. They're partners to MasterCard, and they're launching the world's first card that can swipe your crypto assets from your MetaMask. So yeah, that's a short version. But by the way, don't be confused, or don't be don't be confused by the fact that I'm quoting 2 because they've only asked me for 2. I'm equally excited about each of our incubator companies. We are a boutique incubator, and hence every single project that we have has its own potential in the real world, and it's about to change the world for sure through decentralized economies.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, Gaurav, how do you come to work with all of these different projects? What is the process like? Do they come to you seeking perhaps some advice, some funding, some support? Do you go out looking for these startups as well?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, God has been kind. our funnels are super, let's say, full up. We have more than 200 projects in the wait list. Like almost always, our rejection rate is 99% plus, and this is usually word of mouth and our public presence in larger events where the purpose is not to advertise TDeFi, but to bring exposure to our incubated companies. While the word of mouth has been insane, the second source of deals is BizCon. It's a product within TDeFi. It's a hackathon, business hackathon portal that creates about 1,000 startups per year. These are the two ways and means of TDeFi getting the access to projects and ecosystem. And then yes, the projects come to us primarily for everything, but in the last 8 months, we have been better known for our specialty in managing token markets, public markets of the token. So, no one in the ecosystem, almost no one in the ecosystem talks about the life cycle of the token in 5-year, 10-year. How would you be a part of, a penny stock trader's portfolio? Why would he do that? What are the stats on your charts that would make you, eligible for a new trader or an institutional trader to keep you or keep that token in their portfolio? Maybe in the future, how would you qualify in the top 100 of BlackRock consumer portfolio? How would the S&P 500 of the future include you, and so on and so forth? So these are very institutional metrics that would shape the future of blockchain and tokens, basically public blockchains tomorrow. But sadly enough, no one's talking about that. And the projects that are super sincere and have already launched and probably in their first or second year of their life cycle, and have finally understood that this is the future of their project. The token valuation in 5-year, 10-year will define the success of their project, are the ones coming to us mostly these days. So while I call ourselves, incubators, the very traditional definitions of incubation does not apply to us, because the projects coming to us have been, have a launch token for the last 1 year or so, largely.
Got it. Thank you, Gaurav. And look, I think we touched on this earlier in the show, talking about the bear market, but working with all these different projects, do you see, are there common threads between all the different projects? Are the different projects experiencing the same kind of problems at the moment? And what is your advice to them to ride out the downtime and just keep building?
I would say one loud problem right now across the industry is capital, right? Everyone's striving for capital. Some have it, but are still anxious for the next, some have it for the next 2 years. They're anxious for 5 years of runway. Some have it for 2 months and are anxious for the next year of runway. So capital, I think, is the loudest, the most prominent, significant problem in the space, and not just this space, I would say across the globe, across the industries. And the second problem is activity, I think, which is less talked about, because project eventually is supposed to have its community, has to have users. As we have all heard of the news about Decentraland and Sandbox basically having a fraction of the users they used to have just about a few months ago. Right. But these topics are not at the highlight these days. But I think the industry definitely has to work on this. And our projects particularly are working on those lines so that they can be the top gainers in the upcoming bull run whenever it strikes back.
Yeah, that's right.
So those are the top two. I can talk about like 10 other topics if you want me to.
Well, you talked about but the next bull run whenever that happens. So if there's the next cycle of crypto Web3, what do you see happening in the next cycle, the next wave? Are there any kind of new innovations within crypto that you are potentially excited by?
I think, the cycle of life, the way it works is the one at the very bottom, but obviously working hard, always tends to be the ultimate winner, the ultimate top of the next cycle. That applies to life and to business. DeFi, or rather CeFi coated with DeFi, has already proved its mettle in the last wave. But also, all the bad practices, ill practices, have brought it to its ultimate bottom. I think DeFi 2.0 will be the runner, will the leadership, will lead the market, and then GameFi as a industry altogether will definitely be significant. But because there are almost unlimited players, the game studios are producing games by months, if not days. So I don't see an ultimate winner or a top of the name kind of scenario with GameFi, but I definitely see DeFi that are still living and standing to be at the top in the coming wave. Experts are calling it DeFi 2.0.
Yes, yes, indeed. And, DeFi will be big. Web3, of course, metaverse, NFTs. There'd be another huge wave coming there. One would expect Gaurav, which would probably bring in just another big segment of the population that haven't really been exposed to crypto before.
Am I allowed to ask questions to the host?
Of course.
Can I ask you? Oh, great. So, what in NFT? I mean, NFT definitely is a revolution if done right. I am known to be, from a public critic of the JPEGs. I still hold up to that position, but that does not mean I don't believe in NFTs, right? So, what form of NFTs do you think is going to be leading the next 5 years? What utilities?
Well, I think, to call them JPEGs, it's like maybe it's a little bit disingenuous, Gaurav, because there's and I don't mean to be too facetious when I say that, but I think you know what I mean. Certainly more utility to NFTs than simple, PFPs or profile pictures. But I think it's, there's a lot of different ways this can play out. It's part of the fun is that it is it's early, it's experimental, but it's like, NFTs can be thought of as just like membership cards to, so many different cool communities. And then it's up to those communities to figure out new ways of expressing all kinds of fun technological play that they can do with NFTs. There's one which I think is really cool. Gaurav, it's a company, or they're a startup called Jadu, and they're building an AR app. And it's like, if you remember, the Pokemon Go AR game from a few years ago, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But their NFTs are like, they're kind of these cool robot avatars, and they were designed, collabed with the Hollywood Michael Bay. Michael, there's his name. Did the Transformers movies, so he collaborated with them.
Michael Bay.
Yeah, and they're really cool. It's a very slick AR experience, and I can see, just as AR and VR, everything starts to mature, then NFTs just enable people to own digital items, and I think there'll be a big need for that. There'll be a big market for that, and there'll be a big economy for that. So that's how I see NFTs playing out over the next 5 years.
Oh, definitely. Like I said, in NFTs as a part of a larger economy, I'm sure will play out a major role. But just like I said, JPEGs. I'm sorry to hurt you again on those feelings, but I'm saying just JPEGs. I mean, another board APR club, another punk. I don't think. I mean, look, Bitcoin is great, but remember, along with Bitcoin, there were like a zillion folks of just about Bitcoin chain, and then so many other tokens that came in.
Yeah.
Are they even alive now? No.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, Doge somehow is able to sustain for obvious reasons, but how many of them, right? So yes, punks were great to begin with. They found their place. They still have a value of antiquity. They'll keep curating that value of antiquity if they play it right, and they don't, just about launch 5,000 NFTs every month. Um, so, so yeah, the first ones did get their chance and are leading it, and I don't deny that they will still be, the a thing of the future. But then you can't have another Bitcoin kind of like. I mean, I love Bitcoin. I'm just about to use a bit of harsh word. I mean, a stupid technology. Uh, now, obviously, the value, the setup, the engagement it has is unprecedented. But can someone begin something as useless now? No. I mean, Bitcoin is Bitcoin, not because of the tech primarily. Yes, it was when it was, but you can't start another Bitcoin now, right? Similarly, you can't have a punk, another punk now.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say.
Sure. No, I agree with you. I think you're quite right. And in some ways, that's the paradox of crypto, isn't it, Gaurav? Because, anyone can essentially fork any one of these different blockchains. Very easy to fork off Bitcoin, but just because you can, it doesn't, A, it doesn't mean you should, and B, it won't have any value. And it's the same with NFTs. It's extremely easy for anyone to spin up just another carbon copy of an existing NFT collection, and people do this. And once people were starting to do this with AI, you can just spin up a new 10,000 PFP collection of whatever it is and put it on OpenSea, and that's part of the problem. The market just gets diluted by fast money. Really, people looking for a quick profit.
Exactly, like spot on. This is exactly what I meant.
Yeah, I'm with you, Gaurav. I'm not sure if it was on your Twitter or the TDeFi Twitter, but I saw you were hanging out at some kind of Web3 conference with Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, and he's started a Web3 fund. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was not a crypto conference, though. It was Milken conference, which is largely a deep finance conference, a rather exclusive one. But yes, Kevin is also sort of present in a couple of other crypto specific conference, and he's launched a Web3 fund in UAE. And the hanging out picture, if you have seen the conversation, the picture with the conversation, was exactly on this point, which I guess will be your next question or around your brain somewhere, is what's happening with Kevin and Web3, because he's been talking about not investing into crypto at all, like flying to Washington and getting a regulation done and all of that. So I said, Kevin, you've been so strong on TV, on news about you not investing into Web3, and here you are, every single Web3 conference, and you're there. And he was like, yeah, I'm not doing crypto investments in the US. I'm still doing it in the world. Crypto is not dead. It still has a big future.
All right. Thank you, Gaurav. It has been good learning about TDeFi. We'll go to a break, but just before we do that, tell people if they want to learn more about TDeFi and the projects you represent and how people can potentially get involved. What should they do? Where should they go?
The best place is the website itself, tde.fi. There's an application button there that has all forms of engagements we support. I think that's the best place, and they can always find us on Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Gaurav. All the best, and bye for now.
It was a great conversation. Thank you so much, Andy. Bye. Have a good day.
All right. Well, there you go. That was Gaurav Dubey from TDeFi. I hope you could follow along there. It was a slightly strange experience recording this podcast because Gaurav had some very important business to conduct in an embassy. He was actually in an embassy while we were recording this podcast. And he got called away a couple of times to do biometrics and so on. So it was slightly disjointed, but yeah, nonetheless, a good conversation, I think. So I hope you enjoyed that, folks. Of course, you can learn more about TDeFi at tde.fi. TDeFi. So thank you, Gaurav, for coming on the show. Thanks for talking to us today. Thank you for listening to the show, listeners. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New Coin.